Britain has had other prolific serial killers than Ian Brady and Myra Hindley, but none has attracted so much attention or become so clearly the embodiment of evil as this couple, the so-called Moors murderers, who brutally tortured and killed at least 5 children in the early 1960s. At the heart of the horror was the role of Myra Hindley, as up to that time, only men were known to carry out serial sex murders of children. That a woman should have joined in seemed so utterly against nature that Hindley became Britain's #1 hate figure, reviled even more than the principal agent of their crimes, Ian Brady. Ian Brady was born in Glasgow, Scotland, on the 2nd of January 1938. His mother, Peggy Stewart, was unmarried at the time and unable to support her child. She gave her baby, aged 4 months, over to the care of John and Mary Sloan, a couple with 4 children of their own. Peggy continued to visit her son for a while, though not revealing that she was actually his mother. The visits stopped when she moved to Manchester, England, with her new husband, Patrick Brady, when her son was 12 years old. Ian was a difficult child, intelligent but a loner. In his teens, despite having passed the entrance examination to a good school, Shawlands Academy, he went completely off the rails. He became fascinated by Nazi Germany and by Adolf Hitler in particular, missed school frequently, and committed burglaries. By the age of 16, he had been arrested 3 times. He was only saved from reform school when he agreed to leave Glasgow and go to live with his natural mother, Peggy, in Manchester. When he arrived in Manchester in late 1954, he made an effort to fit in, taking his stepfather's name. He worked as a market porter, but within a year he was in trouble again. He was jailed for theft, and while imprisoned seems to have decided on his future career, professional criminal. With this in mind, he studied bookkeeping. On his release, he found work as a laborer while looking for a suitable criminal enterprise. Unable to find anything, he put his new skill to more conventional use and got a job as a bookkeeper with a company called Millward's Merchandising. A year later, a new secretary arrived to work there. Myra Hindley. Babysitter. Myra Hindley had a slightly more conventional upbringing than Brady. She was born in Manchester on the 23rd of July, 1942, the oldest child of Nellie and Bob. During the war years, while Bob was in the army, the family lived with Myra's grandmother, Ellen Mayberry. Later, when Bob and Nellie had trouble coping in the post-war years, Myra went back to live with her grandmother, who was devoted to her. Throughout her school years, Myra was seen as a bright, though not over-ambitious child with a love of swimming. In her teens, she was a popular babysitter. Leaving school at 16, she took a job as a clerk in an engineering firm. Soon afterwards, she got engaged to a local boy, Ronnie Sinclair. However, she broke off the engagement, having apparently decided that she wanted more excitement in life. That wish was all too horribly granted when she took a new job and found herself working with Ian Brady. Hindley soon fell for the sullen, brooding Brady. It took him a year to reciprocate her interest, but once they became lovers, He realized he had found the perfect foil for his increasingly dark fantasies. Brady had spent much of the previous few years obsessively reading. Particular favorites were Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, Hitler's Mein Kampf, and the Marquis de Sade's Justine, among other less elevated books on sadomasochism. Brady increasingly saw himself as some kind of Superman beyond the bounds of good and evil. The devoted MYRA lapped all this up. During their first years together, she transformed herself with hair dye and makeup into the Aryan blonde of Brady's fantasies. She gave up seeing her friends and devoted herself utterly to her lover. In 1964, Brady introduced Hindley to the next stage in their relationship, a life of crime. His first notion was a bank robbery. The dutiful MYRA joined a gun club and obtained 2 weapons for him. However, before the robbery could be carried out, Brady changed his mind. It was not robbery he wanted to commit, but murder. First victim. The couple's first victim was 16-year-old Pauline Reed. The couple waylaid the teenager on the way to a dance on the 12th of July, 1963. They lured her on to Saddleworth Moor, where Brady raped her and cut her throat. They then buried her there. Having got away with the crime, on the 11th of November, Brady decided it was time to kill again. The victim this time was a 12-year-old boy, John Kilbride, whom they abducted from Ashton-under-Lyme. 7 months later, in June 1964, another 12-year-old, Keith Bennett, was abducted from near his home in Manchester. Both boys were raped, murdered, and buried on the moors. After 6 more months, they struck again on Boxing Day, the 26th of December, 1964. This time, they took a girl, 10-year-old Leslie Ann Downey. With Hindley's assistance, Brady took pornographic photographs of Downey, which he planned to sell to rich perverts. The couple, now entirely engrossed in their evil, even made an audio tape of their torture of the terrified little girl. Finally, Brady raped her, and either he or Hindley, depending on whose account you believe, strangled her, before they buried her on the moors with the others. Brady took to boasting about his exploits to Hindley's brother-in-law, David Smith. Angered when Smith did not believe him, Brady made Hindley bring Smith to their house on the 6th of October, 1965, just as he was about to dispatch his latest victim, 17-year-old Edward Evans. Smith was not impressed, but horrified, and went to the police the next morning. They raided the house and found Evans' body there. Further investigation soon led them to start digging on the moors, where they discovered the bodies of Downey and Kilbride. Next, they found a box containing the photos and the tape documenting Downey's murder. At trial, both Brady and Hindley tried to pin the blame on David Smith, but the sensational evidence of the tape led to them both being convicted of murder. Brady and Hindley received a life sentence each. Hindley protested her innocence for a long time, but eventually came to accept partial responsibility. Brady accepted his guilt and later confessed to 5 other murders, which remain unproven. In 2002, he wrote a book on serial killers that caused controversy in Britain on its publication. That same year, Myra Hindley, died in prison.